obviously winning road games in league play are special. And Vanderbilt, a lot of credit to Stack. I mean, they're pretty darn good team. You don't beat BYU on a neutral court in Arkansas at Arkansas unless your team has some substance. And they're pretty darn good. I thought they were good going in, watching them on film, and after playing the game, they guard, they fight, they're scrappy, they're athletic, and they got shooters. And then Pippen's a problem to defend. So getting a win on the road was good, and we got to now regroup and go on the road and play. I don't care what rankings are, what I think is one of the top 10, 12 teams in the country in Tennessee, and definitely one of the top 2, 3 defensive teams in the country. So we got our work cut out for us, but that's conference play. And at the end of the day, when this one's done, Florida's coming in town. Florida's not calling in sick if we win against Tennessee. And that last game of the year at Auburn, yeah, we got to play that one too. It's what we sign up for. We don't sign up for a roller coaster of emotions on a daily basis. We sign up to deal with 18 conference games, and that's what's in front of us. We got 2 down and 16 to go.
All right, first question, David.
Hey, Frank, thanks for doing this morning. Eric obviously had a big game up in Nashville, and not only with the points, the things that kind of caught my attention, he took 2 charges, was really kind of all over the court. Could you just describe his emotion, his capability of trying to be at every play at once, and what he's meant to this team so far?
Absolutely. It's who he is. He's he impacts the game in different ways. Everybody just looks at his 3-point shooting, shot making opportunities, but if he doesn't lead, I think he lead. I don't really read the stat sheets. It's not my thing. Sometimes I look, sometimes I don't. I think he leads as an assist, if I'm not mistaken. He's up there in offensive rebounding. It's defensively, he fights his tail off. He's a voice. He never shuts up. He's one of those guys that I have to say, yo, let me coach, relax, because he's so engaged in what we do, and which I love. That's the kind of stuff, and I'm not surprised that he impacts the game in so many different ways. He's that's why I brought him here. The last thing when I tried to recruit him when he left Wichita State the first time, his shot making was the least of the things that interested me in recruiting him. When you coach against him, you feel his presence on the court, and I needed to have someone on my team that I can say that about.
Colin?
You talked after Vanderbilt about needing to get Keyshawn a little bit more, not more involved, but just in general, just how would you kind of evaluate his performance coming off that suspension, and what's maybe next for him as you get into the thick of SEC play?
Yeah, he's in a great space right now. His mindset, his spirits. He was as happy as anyone on our team when that Pippen threw that ball, towards the half court line there at the end. He came running off the bench with as much joy as anybody. He's fine. We just him and Jermaine have not been in practice. That's, Keyshawn practiced early, but then, he got dinged up and then he missed some practice time. Without telling you, I hope you can understand what I'm trying to tell you, why he wasn't around for a little while. And now he's back in there, and I need him and Jermaine to be on the court and be consistent in practice. Because what happens is Eric, James, those guys, they're there every day, and we've created a way for us to play with them on the court. And then here comes Key and Jermaine, and unfortunately, they're there for a week and then they're gone for 3-4 days, and it's hard to commit to structure with those guys. I understand their strengths as players. I understand them as people. As soon as I can get them consistently out there, which they're both in great spirits about, then I've got to be a lot more aggressive in committing to certain things to help them play better. And that's on me. That's my job. I got to do that. But they're him and Key's in a great space right now, mentally and physically. He was worried about the shoulder, but as soon as he got the green light, he was out there right away. And we just got to knock on wood and keep pushing forward.
Joe Gorchow.
Coach, when watching your team throughout the season, it seems clear, though, you might be frustrated with how they play at certain times, whether it's turning it over, committing too many fouls, but they don't seem to get wrapped up in the mistakes throughout the game. They seem to continue to push forward. When did you see that trait develop, that they don't really worry about mistakes? They just keep pushing ahead to the next play. And is that a sign of a team that you believe can do a lot of damage in this league play?
Yeah, I'm Joe, I'm not going to pat myself on the back, but that's who I am. I mean, I don't dwell on yesterday. I don't dwell on 5 minutes ago. I'm on to the next second of my life. Anytime I get to take a deep breath, and obviously anytime I get another day, I'm on to the next day. But that also comes from the older guys on our team, whether it's Keyshawn and Jermaine. I just told you, Keyshawn played, tried really hard, didn't play real well at Vanderbilt, and fouled out. And, he was as happy as anybody. Eric and James Reese, Eric was a starting player at a Wichita team that won 25 games the year the season was shut down. James Reese is starting two guard in the personality of North Texas, who won their league 2 years in a row and beat Purdue in the NCAA tournament. And Purdue's a team that everyone raves about this year because they're good. So it's, Wildens has been around the ropes. Wildens is past the days of being a freshman and kind of giving you, great play and overexcited, follow with a really bad play. Now it's kind of, you get more of a flat line from Will. And so that's that's why I'm enjoying this team, because I can coach. I don't have to worry about managing personalities based on who makes a shot or who misses a shot. It's I can move on to the next play and be prepared, because the players are too.
Mike Uva.
Frank, going back to not just Stevenson, but just big picture wise, you've had some pretty good transfers over the years, whether it be like a Frank Booker that have been able to come in here and they've been able to learn things and pick things up pretty quickly. When you look at a guy like Stevenson and just in general, what are some of the similarities and traits you think that allow them to come in here to be able to have that success, while others maybe come in and they're not able to pick up the system as quickly?
They're selfless. They want to win. It's not about how many shots they get. It's not about you're not running plays for me. They're selfless. They want to win. What can I do to help our team win? And when you tell them, they go out and they do it like 100 miles per hour. They're fully committed to it. And they're great teammates. They have an uplifting personality. We get wrapped up on, listen, everyone thinks that, they got to be unbelievably talented in stats. Talent and stats are connected. Winning is not connected to talent and stats. Stats are connected to talent. If you got talent and you play, you're going to have stats. That doesn't necessarily translate to winning if you're missing some of those other things I was talking about. Those guys have the ability to shoot, so they can put up stats. But the biggest component why they impact winning is not their talent. It's their selfless ways of doing things. They're unbelievably committed to buying into the structure that the coaches create. And they fight for that every single day. So they become coaches' allies, and they become good teammates because players want to succeed. And so it becomes an unbelievable component that affects winning. But sometimes you got players that got good stats, but behind the scenes, they don't want to do what coaches ask them to do, or they're malcontents because coaches are not calling more plays for them. And coaches, we're not going to say that publicly about a player, but that's the reality of what goes on behind the scenes. But that's why a Booker, that's why an Eric Stevenson come in. They're both older. Okay, let's not forget that. They're not freshmen. Okay, they're both have been in, Booker was at Oklahoma, winning program. Eric Stevenson was at Wichita, winning program. Booker transferred and it didn't work out for him at the second place. Eric transferred, didn't work out for him at the second place. So they both kind of were humbled to say, you know what, I had it pretty good and I was winning. I need to go back to that formula a little bit. So But they're fun to coach, man. They lay it on the line. They might not jump up and dunk balls and and all that other stuff, but when the game's over, their team wins more than they lose, and they're fun to be around.
Michael and Anna?
Frank, you talked about trying to find a way to limit turnovers, especially going up against a defense like Tennessee. How do you work on something like that? And have you emphasized that in practice a little bit more, talked about it more, or just how do you attack something like that when you have an issue with turnovers?
Patience, because it's the way we play offense. We don't play the NBA offense where everybody stands around and watches one guy dribble the ball and ball screen for him, and then that guy either shoots, turns it over, or has an assist. So then you only have turnovers from one player. And everyone else has field goal percentage. That's their stats. I don't believe in that basketball. We believe in passing the ball, putting different guys in different responsibilities. And when you have 9 first-year guys, and you're counting on 2 true freshmen in Jacoby and Devin to play major minutes in ball handling responsibilities, you're gonna have some turnovers. And but we still 23 is too many. That's way too many, and it's something that I think we had 22 or 23 and 20 against Auburn. Way too many. We've got to cut that down, and we play with pace. We don't kind of walk the ball up, and so there's only 40 possessions. The other day we had 100 possessions in a game. So there's more possessions, so your turnovers as a team are going to kind of go up a little bit. But we still that's way too many. We got to get that number down. I mean, you told me we had 10 turnovers, 9 turnovers. I'd be really, really happy. That means we played great on offense from that standpoint. Doesn't necessarily mean we scored, but it means we played, eliminated turnovers, gave ourselves more opportunities.
Alex Jones?
Frank, you kind of mentioned this a minute ago, but Woodlands Levesque has had a pretty good start to conference play, going for double figures in both games. Just what have you seen from him in those games, and what do you want to see from him going forward?
He's been like that that's how he finished last season. He took last season. See, it's Alex, what the missing component that I'm a big player development guy. That's always been my shtick. Can I coach Michael Beasley 1 year and have a great season? Yeah, I can do that too. And he got a lot better. He had 31 double doubles in 33 games. I think I've shown I can coach a one and done guy. But I love helping people grow and get better. You do that in the off season. You don't do that in the season. And from freshman to sophomore year, he lost his whole off season. And so we weren't around each other. So then when they got back in late August or whatever it was last year, he started to work. He didn't play real well early in the year, but by the end of the season, he was playing a lot better. Well, season ended, and he never left. He stayed here, even during the dead period, not dead period, but the mini semesters between the big semesters and all that stuff. He stayed so he can lift weights and go in the gym on his own and work. So he started off this year in practice with a bang. And I think he's not even close to where he can be. I mean, he works at what he does. And that's when you work at what you do, it gives you confidence. When you don't work, it gives you doubt. And he's worked at things. And so he's got a lot of confidence in what he's doing. I actually got to kind of leave him alone a little bit, because I need him to play better, even that he's playing right now. So I'm on him a little bit too much. I've got to leave him alone so he can be a little bit more at peace with the confidence that he's playing with.
Gene?
Hey, Frank. Why do you think that college basketball has done so much better with minority hiring of head coaches than football? I mean, you've been around college athletics a long time, administrators. Why do you think that is? And also, why do you think the women's game has done even better than the men's game in that, at least recently?
Yeah, Gene, I don't know. I can't speak for women's basketball or football. I'm not privy to their organizations and their meetings and what they think. I know in men's basketball, it all, for me, 15 years ago, APR and all that first came in, and we fought it. We thought it was the worst rule, and as coaches, we thought like this is bad. Like, what are we doing here? And now we're fighting to keep it because the APR stuff's become a problem because of the transfer stuff where they can transfer right away. It's created major issues with the APR formula. And why do I share that with you, Gene? Is because we made an unbelievable commitment to supporting it, even though we were against it. And men's basketball is graduating minorities at a higher rate than in the history of collegiate athletics. We're graduating close to 87%, 88% of our athletes over the last dozen years or so, which means that we, when we sit around and we have conversations, these things are important. I don't know why, other than obvious reasons. There's in our sport, more than any sport of the ones you mentioned, people speak about that the majority of the players are minorities, which they are. And then that creates a conversation that more people should be given opportunity. And, Gene, the only thing I've ever said, Gene, and that's why when we started this movement with the John McClendon Foundation, that Will Muschamp and I supported here, and I continue to support here. And I basically, Will and I funded a job for a young minority employee in athletic administration. Is at the end of the day, there's not enough minority administrators. We need more minority administrators, and anyone that acts differently is fooling themselves. At the end of the day, when push comes to shove, we end up, for the most part, trusting in people that we're around all the time. And when you're around a certain group of people, chances are that you're going to go in that direction. And right now, we don't have enough minority administrators, enough minority presidents. I've said this all along. Right? You see Hispanic, excuse me, you see Hispanic managers in baseball. Why? Because you got guys like Omar Minaya running organizations, and then they hire people, and and I don't think that's a secret, and that's not putting people in a box. That's just facts of life and reality, man. It's the people who do the hiring, like coaches. We hire minorities, we hire white people, we hire whoever. We don't care, But at the end of the day, I don't hire head coaches. I hire assistant coaches. Athletic directors and presidents hire head coaches. Without trying to hedge your question, Gene, I think those are questions for athletic directors to answer. Because head coaches, all we can do is do our jobs and prepare our assistants for opportunities. And at the end of the day, the ADs and presidents got to make those decisions.
Colin?
Yeah, Frank, you touched a little bit on Tennessee's defense. Just what do they do that's so good when you watch them on film, and kind of as an offense, what can you guys do to kind of maybe get them out of some of their half court stuff and really try to have some success against them?
Well, we can't foul them like we have our last 3 road games at Coastal, at Clemson, and at where we just played Vanderbilt. We can't foul. Because if you continue to foul, then the game slows down and it allows people's defense to set. And then you're dealing against a set defense every single time. If you look at the Vanderbilt game, the possessions where we didn't foul, we actually were able to get into the open court and get some easy opportunities, for lack of better words. It's we gotta, and people, when you're at home, you tend to attack better than when you're on the road offensively. And we have to do a better job of that. Like when people foul us and we get to shoot free throws, our defensive numbers are off the charts. Our problem is that we're fouling too much, especially on the road, and putting people on the foul line. And we've got to eliminate that. It's there's, I don't know, 6 to 8 to 9, somewhere in there, plays a game where we're just committing bad fouls. And those are plays that we have to eliminate. And all you can do is show film and continue to be patient and teach and continue to get that number to drop a little bit.
John?
You mentioned earlier the success that transfers are having because they're so selfless. How difficult is that to discern that they're going to have that attitude when you probably have a little bit less time recruiting out of the transfer portal? And, given the relationships you've had with a lot of these guys over the years, did you feel more comfortable maybe with this group of guys coming in than you have in the past?
Yeah, I had another head coach call me over the Christmas break and ask for my advice on transfers. And, what I told him was like, when we decided to go recruit transfers this past spring, big thing for me was that we recruited some transfers that we had previously recruited. So we already understood what they were about and they understood what we were about. Because transfers will make decisions quicker than high school kids. Transfers they're rarely going to go. If you're recruiting a transfer and he's telling you that he wants to take 5 visits, you probably need to go recruit somebody else. That's just a personal opinion. But at the end of the day, when you bring a transfer in, rarely do you bring a transfer in that was really happy at the other school. There's always something wrong at the other school. And anytime there's something wrong, it's not always the coach's fault 100%. It's usually a 50-50 split. So you got to make sure that you have those clear conversations with them before they come. Because like I tell every transfer I've ever coached, I'm like, this is who I am. This is what I expect. This is what I need. If you're not willing to understand these things, don't come. Because don't come here to be miserable, because then you don't get to transfer and play right away. Don't make me be the guy that benches you. I don't want to do that to you. If you're going to come here, I need you to be at peace with this, 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 and this. And if you're okay with that, then let's figure it out. Let's make it work and let's move forward. So those are the conversations I have with transfers. It's not a perfect science. I've had a couple of transfers that came and they've struggled to get on the floor for X number of reasons. And, it's not a perfect science. It's, but I think it's very important, in my opinion, that you have, and you can't, as a coach, I can't call the other coach and say, hey, how's so-and-so to deal with? Because 9 times out of 10, that coach wasn't happy with that kid. So he's going to share with you the negative. He's not going to share with you the positive. And when he shares the negative, now I've got a negative perception on somebody that I know very little about. I think we got to have our own willingness to be open, to create our own relationship rather than go into it with any kind of good or bad.
All right, I got one more hand raised here. The last question goes to Michael and Nana.
As far as health, did everyone come through okay from the Vanderbilt game? Are there any concerns about availability for Tennessee?
No, I think we're good. I think we're good. I mean, it's the sniffles. The sniffles used to make coaches call players soft. Now the sniffles keeps everyone out for 5 and 6 days. So Michael, today we're good. Everyone is healthy from physical stuff or COVID stuff. Today everyone's good, and but here's the thing. As soon as someone, literally, I said sniffles being funny and sarcastic. As soon as somebody starts sneezing too much or whatever, you give them a rapid test, and if they're positive, they're out, and there's nothing we can do about it. So it's so that would lead us to the vaccine communication, and I try not to get into that one publicly too much.
All right. Appreciate it, Coach. Thank you.
All right, guys.
Greg.